You're 12 years old. A boy your age stands in the village square, barefoot, dressed in rags. He says Jesus came to him while he was tending sheep. He says Christ gave him a letter, a personal letter, commanding him to liberate Jerusalem. He says the Mediterranean Sea will part for him, just like the Red Sea parted for Moses. He says the adults have failed, the knights have failed, the kings have failed. But children? Children are pure. God will grant children the miracle he denied the sinners. You believe him. Why wouldn't you? He's so certain, so passionate. And you're 12, and your life is hunger and labor and nothing ever changing. So you follow him. 30,000 of you follow him. None of you will reach Jerusalem.
Most of you will never come home. This is the Children's Crusade of 1212, the forgotten tragedy that may have inspired the legend of the Pied Piper. And it is one of the darkest chapters in medieval history. Let's start with why this happened. By 1212, the Crusades had been going on for over a century. Jerusalem had been won, then lost again to Saladin in 1187. The Fourth Crusade in 1204 was a disaster. Instead of attacking Muslims, the Crusaders sacked Constantinople, a Christian city. The professional armies had failed, the knights had failed. God, it seemed, was not answering the prayers of warriors. So a new idea emerged. Maybe the problem was sin. Maybe God wouldn't grant victory to armies full of greed and lust and violence.
Maybe what was needed was innocence. Enter Stephen of Cloyes. Stephen was a shepherd boy, about 12 years old, from a small village in France. Orphaned young, he survived by tending other people's sheep. In May 1212, he appeared at the court of King Philip II in Paris with an incredible claim. Jesus Christ had appeared to him, disguised as a pilgrim, asked for bread, and in return gave Stephen a letter for the King of France, a letter commanding a new crusade. But not a crusade of knights, a crusade of children. King Philip was unimpressed. He told the boy to go home. Stephen didn't go home. Instead, he began to preach, and something remarkable happened. Children listened. Peasant children. Orphans.
The forgotten and the desperate. They came by the dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. Stephen told them the sea would part for them. Stephen told them Muslims would convert the moment they saw the pure faith of Christian children. Stephen told them God had chosen them because the adults had proven unworthy. By late June 1212, Stephen had gathered what chroniclers claim was 30,000 followers, mostly children and teenagers, though some adults joined too. They marched south from Vendôme toward Marseille, surviving by begging for food, sleeping in fields, singing hymns as they walked. Many gave up along the way. The journey was brutal. Summer heat, no supplies, no plan, just faith. But thousands reached Marseille.
And there, they gathered at the harbor, waiting for God's miracle. The sea did not part. At the same time, a parallel movement was happening in Germany. A boy named Nicholas of Cologne, we know even less about him than Stephen, began preaching near the shrine of the three kings in Cologne. He carried a Tau cross, a T-shaped symbol, and he too promised that the Mediterranean would open before them. His followers gathered in the thousands. Nicholas led them across the Alps in the summer heat. Think about that. Children crossing the Alps on foot in summer, when the passes are open, but the journey is still brutal. Steep climbs, freezing nights at altitude, no supplies, no shelter. 2 out of every 3 people on that journey died.
About 7,000 survivors stumbled into Genoa in late August. They rushed to the harbor. They prayed. They waited. The sea did not part. The people of Genoa, initially sympathetic, grew annoyed. They offered some children citizenship if they wanted to stay. Most refused. They still believed the miracle would come. Eventually, the Genoese told him to leave. Nicholas led a smaller group onward to Rome, where Pope Innocent III reportedly told them, "These children put us to shame. While they rush to recover the Holy Land, we sleep." Then he told them to go home. Nicholas tried to lead his followers back across the Alps. He didn't survive the return journey.
Back in Germany, his father was arrested and hanged by angry parents whose children had died following his son. But Stephen's followers in Marseille faced something worse than disappointment. When the sea refused to part, 2 local merchants appeared. Their names, according to later chronicles, were Hugh the Iron and William the Pig. They offered to transport the children to the Holy Land for free, for the glory of God, they said. Stephen believed them. The children boarded 7 ships. And then, nothing. No word, no news. For 18 years, silence. In 1230, a priest arrived in France with a story. He had been one of the young clergy who accompanied Stephen's crusade. He had boarded one of those 7 ships.
2 ships, he said, were wrecked in a storm near the island of San Pietro off Sardinia. Everyone aboard drowned. The other 5 ships? They sailed to North Africa, to Bougie, to Algiers. The children weren't taken to Jerusalem. They were taken to slave markets. Hugh the Iron and William the Pig had made a deal with Muslim merchants. The entire rescue was a trap. Thousands of Christian children were sold into slavery across North Africa and Egypt. Some were bought by households, some went to harems, some simply disappeared into the machinery of the medieval slave trade. The priest himself had been purchased by the governor of Egypt, who kept him as an interpreter. He'd spent 18 years in captivity before finally being released. He came home to tell the parents what had happened to their children. Some historians doubt this account. Maybe it was invented later, a moral lesson grafted onto a confused historical event. The sources from this period are fragmentary, sometimes just a sentence or 2 in a chronicle. We don't know exact numbers. We don't know exactly what happened. But we know something happened. We know children left their homes by the thousands. We know most of them never came back. We know parents spent years not knowing if their children were alive or dead. We know the medieval world was shaken by this strange, terrible movement of young people marching toward a promise that never came true. And we know this: nobody stopped them. There's a theory that the Children's Crusade inspired the legend of the Pied Piper of Hamelin. The Pied Piper story is supposedly set in 1284, 70 years later, but the parallels are haunting. A charismatic figure in strange clothes, children following him out of town, parents unable to stop them, the children vanishing into a mountain, never to return. The earliest records of the Pied Piper mention 130 children disappearing from Hamelin on a single day. The town's records for centuries afterward were dated from the year our children left. Whether the connection is real or not, both stories carry the same horror. Children led away by promises, gone forever.
And adults who let it happen. Here's what haunts me about the Children's Crusade. The adults watched. They cheered. They gave the children food and blessed their journey. The church was skeptical, but the common people, parents themselves, saw these children marching south and thought it was beautiful, thought it was holy, thought maybe God really had chosen the innocent to succeed where the powerful had failed. Nobody stopped them. When Stephen gathered his 30,000, no one said, "You're 12. You have no food, no weapons, no ships, no plan. The Muslims aren't going to convert because they see a crowd of hungry peasant children. This is insanity." Or maybe people did say that.
But the children didn't listen, And the adults didn't force them to stay, because the dream was too beautiful. Pure faith conquering evil, innocence defeating corruption, children doing what adults couldn't. It's a story we still tell ourselves. We still want to believe it. The Crusades would continue for another century. More armies, more battles, more blood. Eventually, the last Crusader states fell, and Jerusalem remained in Muslim hands. The children accomplished nothing, but they left behind a memory that wouldn't die. 50 chroniclers wrote about them. Legends grew. The Pied Piper appeared. Artists painted the young Crusaders marching, singing, praying for a miracle that never came.
We remember them because the story is unbearable, because we recognize something in it. Children promised salvation, adults who should have known better, predators waiting to exploit the faithful, and at the end, slave ships sailing toward Africa, while the Mediterranean stayed whole and unparted, indifferent to prayers. Stephen of Cloyes vanished from history after Marseille. Maybe he boarded one of those ships. Maybe he died in a slave market, or drowned in a storm. Maybe he simply walked home and lived out his days in silence, the boy prophet who led thousands to their doom. We don't know. We only know that in the summer of 1212, 30,000 children believed that faith alone could change the world.
They walked toward a miracle that never happened. Led by boys who promised them the sea would part. It didn't. And the adults who watched them go never stopped asking themselves why they didn't do more. That's the question the Children's Crusade leaves us. Not what happened to the children, but why we let them march.